So like I said earlier, Father appreciated the arts and stuff, and Roy, like I said, is a great writer, songwriter, singer-songwriter, musician, so RoyWolf.com, Facebook every Wednesday, he does live. But he did a great song here, it's a parody of Real Parents. Roy and I were on to work with Real Parents several times.
I could have everybody take a pause here and find a seat. We are going to begin our celebration of life for Father Gappa. So if you want to grab a drink at the cash bar, now would be the time. And if you just want to grab a seat, and once we're all seated and sitting quietly, I will invite Father Rick up here to give his eulogy.
We'll do that, yeah.
I waited on your own. A lot of fun. Built a lot of community there. I can remember years ago, some pictures of Father strength pants or something. I mean, you could pick them out really easy.
So they leave me one on that.
So the barbecue I never had.
Well, I think in good old-fashioned Herbert style, we know that people are going to mumble until people just keep talking into a microphone. So I know that Father Gappa would be cool and calm until he didn't have to be. He'd kind of shout, and then people would listen. At least that was my opinion. So I want to welcome all of you here today. What a fitting time we had today to be able to celebrate Mass at Sacred Heart Catholic Church in Burbank, but then also to come here and have a little flair that Father Gappa did. What an honor to his legacy and really to the Gappa name that he had. So at this time I want to welcome Rick Gappa, Herb's nephew, up here to give you eulogy.
That's her stuff here. She laid it here, everybody. But I got to tell you, that little guy that had the butcher shop in Marcus, Urban years ago.
Thanks everybody for coming.
What was that?
Got a few things to say about Uncle Herbert from the family
Good
side.
boy of your size.
Some of it you might want to hear, some of it you might not.
You used to come back there, the horse through there.
A little bit here. Father G. Gappa, age 81, passed away at Maryknoll, father's brother, in Austin, New York, on December 22nd.
I can hear it.
Days prior to his passing, 5 of his nieces and nephews traveled to New York from Minnesota, Idaho, and Illinois to spend time with him. You all know, as a priest, you dedicate your life to God and the priesthood. So when you grow old and pass away, sometimes you don't have a lot of people. You don't have no wife, no kids. In Herb's case, all his siblings had passed away in front of him. So got stuck with was 6 nieces and nephews. We're all here too, by the way. Yeah. Herb is all about family, so it's kind of ironic that the last time us 6 nieces and nephews got together was at Herb's 50th anniversary in Burbank 5 years ago. Pretty cool. So on behalf of Herb's family, I want to thank you all who came here today to pay tribute to this amazing person. Here's a little bit of another paragraph from his obituary. Herb was born in a blizzard at the family home in Burbank on January 4th, 1942. And we don't know if it was January 4th or January 7th because his birth certificate says one thing and his driver's license said the other. And I don't think he even knew. But Gappa had a little trouble with the death certificates because there was a little discrepancy on the birth certificate. So anyway, he was the youngest of his 5 children and began his education in a one-room country school with his mother as a teacher. Then Herb attended Sacred Heart Grade School in Burbank, where when he was 12 years old, a Marian old priest came to put on a talk about mission work. Herb was inspired, and at age 13, he moved from Burbank to Clark Summit, Pennsylvania, and entered the Marian Old Junior Seminary. My mom Joyce often tells this story, and she probably tell it better than I do, but it was Labor Day weekend, 1955. Herbert signed up to go to Marian Old, and he was supposed to be moving to Pennsylvania. Well, it so happened that they had, Marian Old had a booth at the Minnesota State Fair that year. So my mom and dad elected to take her to the State Fair to meet the Marian Old people. So they walked them in the State Fair, found the booth, and left this little 13-year-old shaver with 2 old priests from Marian Old, and they took him on a train and headed out to the East Coast. So, so it's had to be kind of scary for her. It's also scary for my mom and dad. But that was the start of his life's adventure. It was very good. As a young boy, I did not remember a whole lot about Herb till we grew up a little bit, but I do remember his first Mass in Burbank, 1968, and I thought it was pretty cool that I could get communion from my uncle. That was pretty neat. Every 3rd summer, Herb would always come back, and he'd spend 3 months here after every 3 years, spend a lot of it at the lake or at Grandma's in Burbank, wherever the time they'd been. But our cousins, our 6, there was 8 of us then, would always be here for a week or 2 while Herb was around. Taught us how to water ski, cool stories about his African safaris, and we learned a lot. And the best thing about that, we didn't have to go to church on Sunday because Herb always had Mass at picnic day. So the success of Herb's mission and ministry depended on support from people all over the place. He had friends and supporters financially and just friendship-wise all over the world. But when he did come back here for 3 months, he was either looking for supplies, packing up containers, batteries, motorcycles, plumbing parts, electrical parts, whatever he could get, refrigerators, solar stuff. Either that or he'd be driving around the state visiting with all the people that supported him all the time. And he never did forget the people that helped him out. Herb was a big Minnesota Vikings fan. So probably got some stories about that too. His favorite player in the 70s was Carl Eller. I don't know if they just clicked it off, but Herbert was always called himself Carl Eller. He was one of the Purple People Eaters. In about 1972, Herbert and my dad took my brother Dave and myself to a Vikings game at the Met Stadium. That place was colder than hell. It was nasty. It was December. And on the way into the stadium, Herb gives me and David each a thermos bottle. And we thought, wait, we got some hot cocoa to take in there, We said, hide it, put it in your snowmobile suit. We stuffed it in our legs of our snowmobile suit and all went in there. And we sit down, and Herb says, where's the thermos bottles? Handed them to him, and well, here they're packed full of hot brandy. So him and Dad had a really good time. Me and David had to go to the concession stand for hot cocoa. So back to the Vikings thing, he still had a passion for the Vikings. In December, when we went out to see him shortly before he passed away, I had a really nice new gray Viking hat. And a really nice emblem on it. I just got it a couple weeks before that. I had it on, walked in there, and he looked at us. He didn't expect to see us. And he looked at that cap, and pointed at, so I took it and put it on his head, and that was the last I seen him. But when he passed away and we cleaned out his room, I got back. Herb also enjoyed deer hunting. There's a little set of antlers up here. There's a picture of Herb and my brother Dave on there. It was kind of cool. He'd go out to the Reverend cabin and he'd hunt out there. Whenever it fit into his schedule, if he was around, he'd go. So again there, and there's probably a picture of that too. They didn't have to go back to town church because Herbert had mass at the log cabin. So the one year he actually shot a deer. And I think David said it took him quite a few shots, but after it was all said and done, that's when Herbert nicknamed himself One Shot God. Over the 30 years that Herbert lived in Africa, he'd made a few emergency trips back to Minnesota. Back in '72 when Grandma got sick, he was here. '81 when Dad died. And when Sister Mary died in 2000, he came back and he was a big part of those funerals and those celebrations for those people. And he was always willing to help funerals, weddings, stuff like that. His faith was really strong when he was needed. When Deb and myself got married, she happened to be Lutheran, and I called up Herbert in Africa. I said, when we get back here by 1st of May, I'd like you to help with the wedding. And so I figured that out. So he rolled in like maybe 2 days before the wedding, and he married us in a Lutheran church, which don't happen every day everywhere. So it's kind of When we were digging through his stuff, we found a letter. I think, I'm not sure where we picked this up, but there was a letter to his mother in 1968. You should read a little bit of this, it's kind of cute. It said, "Dear Mom, thanks for your letter. People here have been very good to me." And I think he was in Old Moscow at the time. He'd just been here, just a few months. It said that 2 packages from home arrived yesterday, all in good shape. And I didn't even have to pay any custom duties on it. Thank you. Yes, please send my shirts. Crumple them up a bit so they look old, will you please? And put used clothes on the outside so nobody breaks into the box. He said, "Wednesday I'm going to head south to see Dan Holman for a week. It'll be good to see him and see how he's doing in his mission. I just picked up a second-hand motorcycle, 125cc Honda from somebody from Switzerland. It was a good buy for $2,000, and I won't hurt myself, I promise. Gotta go now. I gotta get to town before the shops close. Will you please send me your recipe for beet wine? Because that's the only thing that grows out here that we can make wine out of." Marriage was a start to finish thing for any marriage priest. They take you on when you're 13, 14 years old, or whenever you decide to sign up for the drawing, and you're doing it for life. So when Herb moved out to New York in 2019, he had the choice of maybe staying here, staying at assisted living, but he would have to pay for that out of his own dime. And went out to New York, and they took very good care of him. His assets and his savings and things could go back to Prairie where he wanted. He had to give him a lot of credit for that. It was hard for us to go see him, and he could never come back. But it was a good choice for him to really take care of him. We got another little note here to finish up with. See the people that came from here today, but there was a sympathy card that came to our family when Herb passed away. It says, "Dear Gappa family, we're very sad and shocked to hear of Herb's passing. To say that Herb was an inspiration to each of us is not fully grasping his impact. Herb had a presence not only as an Urbanki, but as a man of God. He made God human and approachable for each of us. We will miss him dearly. He was our hero." I think that says all.
Thanks, Rick.
Yeah, that act is tough.
I had to rewrite it when we wrote here. We had such funny things in there, so ours really had fun. So thank you.
We come so we may go. Those were the words of Father Herbert that he often used to console us when we lost loved ones. So today we are here consoled by those words as we celebrate Father Herbert's Gappa, Father Herbert's life. There were many good times with Father Herb. His humor and his laugh, could you just hear that coming in the room right now? But also let's remember his strong, strong faith. We were asked to talk about family, friends, and his African family in Prairie. We are Joe and Betty Roars. Father Herb was my first cousin. He was like a big brother to me in many ways. He married us, ties a strong knot. 50 years later, we're still together. And he happened to be in Minnesota at the time. Family was very important to Father Herb. Family gatherings. Over the last years when Father Herb was back in this area, he joined many of our families at our gatherings. It was such an honor for us that our youngsters also got to know our cousin Father Herb. He added a spark to every gathering he attended, perhaps a straw cowboy hat or his snowmobile jacket. So the other thing Father Herb would mention, especially in the last couple of years, he mentioned to me often about second Christmas Day. He always said his mother with their family on the day after Christmas would go to visit the aunts and uncles. So I know he came to our house, he came to the other Dorn houses and the Dennis houses. That was important. Of course, the most memorable of any of the masses, I think of most of the masses I ever attended were with Father Herb. They were often in yards or in homes. He celebrated Mass, I know, in my mom's home. We talked to Arthur and Donna here a couple days ago, Arthur and Donna Dorn, and they talked about how they crowded relatives into their home for a Mass. And they also said how special that Mass was to them. I know he celebrated Masses in other people's homes and yards, and that was a special blessing for us, wasn't it?
All of the masses on Lake Ida, if you remember those, the funny part was that sometimes when we got done with Mass, we drug everybody into the lake, all the adults, everybody had to go get wet. But, whenever there was a wedding in a relation, at the end, sometimes we'd go out for lunch after a wedding dance. Father Herb would say, tomorrow morning, we're having Mass at the lake. We'd all be there. So got up early and went there. So these are some of the masses my children, their favorite masses, they always remember that. So, and Father Herb, he loved family and relatives. He loved to get together. And then there was the Leaf Valley Mercantile. That was his favorite. We'd have to put on Buck Burger night. Now they're $2, by the way. And it's always such a hit. And so somebody had to go there early to get a couple tables. We could sit down. But the problem is, by the time Herb got in, he gathered half the people there as he came by. So we always had twice as many people as we planned on. So and he made new friends as he walked in. Came in the front door, he was talking to people. So it's always a great time. So and I always remember being at events at Burbank or Partners, on a Sunday afternoon, church dinner or something like that. He'd say, well, everybody come on out to the cabin. So we would all head out there, and there were lots of laughs and lots of teasing and visiting amongst all the guests and stuff like that. It was always just a fun place to be. When you walked into his cabin, you just were smiling and having fun.
Father Herb opened a bigger world for many of us by learning about his mission work and the people of Bariadi, Tanzania, Africa. We learned about the culture of Bariadi. We learned about the people of Bariadi, their strong faith, and their hard work. Father Herb often claimed Easter Bank as his home. He He loved rural Minnesota. He had the opportunity to spend much time on the farms of relatives and often worked for farmers. Here's where he learned many of the things that aided him in his missionary work. In 2013, we had the opportunity, Joe and I, to go to Variati with Father Herb. Only by seeing firsthand could we appreciate his vision and his inventiveness, and of course his strong faith. Father Herb believed in serving the mind, body, and soul. And now we'll refer to some of our pictures here. When we went to Variati, Father Herb was returning to Variati after several years of being back in Minnesota. The people were so excited to see him. Every area we went to had choirs from like this. The people of Variati were very welcoming, and the only words we understood in the song was Baba Gappa, and then they would smile and laugh. And it was so fun. And once in a while they'd throw in Elizabeth and Giuseppe, but it was so fun. Okay. When Father Herb first arrived in Variati, there was one church seating 200 people. No priest house, no anything else. So Father Herb stayed with the catechist family in this home. And there were 9 children in the family. And Leonard's on the program today, and he's one of those children.
He's the next guy up that's going to be up here. He was one of them. And he lived there for 6 to 8 years. So, when we arrived there, we got there on Corpus Christi Sunday. And for us people our age, remember Corpus Christi when we were kids, where we had a procession out of church and went to the little chapels around the grounds. Well, okay, this is St. John's. This is the first church he built, and he always told me he patterned it after coal bars in Minnesota. Because he said lots of air, lots of light. And when the Sunday we were there, it was 800, it held 800 people, but there was over 1,000 people there. There was over 1,000 people there. And this is where he was standing up in front, and he said, I want the choir to stand up. And the choir in the middle stood up. He said, no, I want the choir to stand up. And he kept saying it until the whole church stood up. That was, so you can see Father, that was so Father. So, and then Corpus Christi Sunday, we marched out of church with this whole group, 800 to 1,000 people. Can you hear me now? Okay, so we marched out of church with this 800 to 1,000 people, and we went down the road, and the cars all stopped, and we went about a quarter mile, half a mile. There was another altar set up there, and then we went to another family, and it was just the whole Corpus Christi like we remember it many, many years ago. And this just shows you, this is the outside of St. John's Church. I mean, just look at the trees, stuff like that. When he came there were no trees there. So these are all trees that have grown since he started the mission. And cattle grazed and things like that. It was just, it was a beautiful place to be.
As you heard Father Herb say, when he first arrived in Variati, it was the size of Burbank. Then it grew to the size of Alexandria. Now it's the size of St. Cloud. Here is where Father Herb's vision was apparent. He continued to buy plots of land for the church so that we could build churches ahead of the growth. And it's just amazing. He knew where, he'd think about where the next growth would be, and he would buy a plot of land there. After building St. John's Church, he built 3 more parish churches, St. Matthew, St. Mark, St. Luke, all following the names of the gospel. This would be probably a typical first church. It would be made of mud bricks, and then Herb's philosophy was that when there was as many people standing outside of the church as inside of the church, it was time to build a second church. And here's the picture of where they were building a second church when we were there. And that was back in 2013. I wonder how many more second churches have been built. In addition to the parish churches, they had 5 chapels. These areas would be like where a catechist would have, and there might be an occasional mass. They also had obtained 5 more plots of land for future churches and future chapels. It was gratifying to see how excited the people were if Father Herb would say, yes, this might be a possible plot that we will build at. It was intriguing to watch Father. When we were there, we got to ride with the parish council and the parish priest and Father Herb. And we went to all the different plots, and it was just intriguing to watch Father Herb, because he would look at the plot and he would say, this spot is the first church. This spot is the second church. It's more visible to the road. It's more visible to the... And we thought to ourselves, he also is a marketer.
Just a couple things. The picture doesn't do it justice, but that's just a scale. It's just got a weight on one end and branch. People would sell branches and make a living. And make a living with it. So he said, well, people would just pile up branches and they'd have a number. So he built this thing and just got a weight on one end, so they piled the branches on until it tipped the weight, and then that was worth so much. So it just kind of made some order to how people were making a living over there. Just these are little things that you don't think of, but before it was, it just made the thing made sense. So, and then the other thing was Wells. He would form co-ops, and he fashioned them after the Irvine Co-op Prairie. So everybody that helped dig the well was an owner and was a protector of it. Because back then, tribes used to get into wars and they would use it, they would destroy each other's wells and stuff like that. So they had to work at it, and they had to come every day, and that digging these wells was lowering a guy down, filling a bucket up and pulling it up until he got to water and stuff like that. So he told me one time, he said, this is like the Irvine Co-op Prairie. He said, so he took a lot of the knowledge that he gained from here and applied it over there.
The Gappa School. The Gappa School was a very progressive school. The language of the area was Kisakuma. However, at this school, they also learned Swahili and English. So can you imagine these kids at home talk Kisakuma, but they learn Swahili, which is a language of all of Africa, the main language, and then English besides. So what opportunity that provides them. They sang to us in English. Here's a picture of the school in the background, and when we went there, we had a plaque along from the Matt Rohr's family, because they had bought a classroom or donated towards a classroom with the memorials from Matt's funeral. And then others bought a classroom. His sister Mary bought a classroom. Our family with our children bought a classroom. And I know many of you donated to Father Herb's adventures and his projects, and that helped him to spread the faith in Prairie. So, okay, yeah, you have to see a picture of the kids. They were so cute, right? So, and, okay. Here's a picture of Father Herb, in his homeland of Prairie. He's proud of his accomplishments there and feeling the love of the people of Prairie, Minnesota, and beyond.
This is the picture we like to look at when we think of Father Herb. It's just so typical of him. So, thank you.
So that family that Father Gappa lived with, the Catechist family, when he first moved to Bariadi, Leonard is one of the children in that family, and he has composed a song in English and Swahili, and with his son, they're going to play a little song dedicated to Father Herb. So welcome, Leonard and Hasidu.
Jambo everybody. Shikamoo wakubwa. Shikamoo, that means you greet others. Shikamoo means they say mahalo. I, Leonard Boniface, we came all the way from Canada to celebrate the life of one of inspiration person who was a poet, Gappa. Boundary person, wonderful, Tanzanian integration. So we're going to sing for him a song called Pastor Gappa. Pastor Gappa loved to say Hallelujah. When he say Hallelujah, you say yeah. Then we do that. Hallelujah. Yeah. Hallelujah. Yeah. Hallelujah. Yeah. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Speak, Lord. Your servant is listening. I come to be with you. way from Yukon up nose. The Gappa love to say, up nose, apple, up nose. Thank you, asante, asante, asante.
Let's give another hallelujah. Ah, nice applause for Leonard and his son Hassani. Just so everyone realizes, Leonard wrote that song, recorded the music. He was up very late, and then he had an extremely long flight from the Yukon. Got delayed because of bad weather and came in at 1 in the morning 2 days ago. And so anyways, thank you, Leonard, for crafting that song for Father Gappa. Thank you. So my name is Marty Roars. I'm related to Father Gappa. My mom and Father Herbert were first cousins. I was also a Maryknoll lay missioner, so a lot of the lay missioners from Maryknoll are over here as well. Many of us served in Africa with Father Herb, and I was blessed. So Father Herb gave the homily at Mass when I was a student learning Swahili. He gave me permission to go down and spend 3 months living with Father Herb in Bariadi, learning and practicing Swahili. I always say this story, and this is true. So Father Herb was very diligent. Every day I had to go out to the small Christian communities, go out to the youth, meet with the choirs, practice my Swahili. He was very diligent. I got sent up and spent my first contract with the Maryknoll missioners in Kenya. And Father Herb came up a year later and wanted to check on me to make sure I was doing my homework and learning the Swahili language. And he spent the first night with me in Boratana in Kenya, and he was kind of berating me that evening, saying, "You're not studying hard enough, you're not getting the Swahili the correct way, you need to study more, you need to go out to the Christian communities and practice." And I was feeling really bad, and I said, "Well, let's go to town, let's get some meat, and let's celebrate you coming here to town." So we drove into the town of Bora, and as we were going through the market to get things for dinner that night, Father Herb turns to me, "Your Swahili is awful, and so are all these Kenyans. Now I know where you're getting it from." So those of you who don't know, Tanzania has the really good Swahili. The Kenyans kind of, let's just say, Leonard, they just get by, right? So anyways, but that's the honest truth. But I've been asked by the family to share a little bit more about his time in Africa, the 3 months I got to spend with him. But as we all know, Father Herb was always full of shenanigans. We know there's going to be plenty of good stories afterwards of the laughter and the jokes and the things that Father Herb always played on us all. But let me share a little bit more about his work. Okay. We all learned a little bit of Swahili and what I'll call the Urbanki over the years, so I'm sure we can all say this. Sawa sawa, right? I mean, he threw that in almost every homily or as he was talking. So, sawa sawa, we've heard a little bit about Father Herb's first motorcycle. Rick shared when he bought it. He was always driving all over to the outstations, visiting families, going to homes on his motorcycle. Started very simple in Bariadi in many, many ways. We've already heard about the family. When he moved to Tanzania, he told me, he made the decision not to build a priest house. He says, we need to build a church first. We can always build a priest house. So he decided to live with Leonard and his family with 9 children, the parents. He lived in one room on the edge of this house for about 8 years until they had completed the church, and then he was finally ready to build a priest house. So can you imagine, he was probably in his 30s, living with a family of 9 children for about 8 years. And that was his learning about the Swahili culture, learning about the Sukuma culture, the people that he was going to be ministering and living and working with. Leonard's oldest sister, Lucy, became the first religious ordained sister from that community in that area. So Sister Lucy gathered with a whole bunch of folks in Bariadi at the time of Father Herb's funeral. Sister Lucy is the one on your right in this photograph, and she sent a few stories and quotes as well, but she wanted you all to know that I am who I am today because of Father Gappa. So we've heard Bariadi, when Father Gappa first arrived there, was about the size of Parker's Prairie, maybe a little bit bigger, but if you want to be generous and say they don't really know the exact number, but it was no way more than 10,000 people. It was probably a couple thousand people when Father Herb first arrived there. Not the best photo, but I found this in Father Herb's photo collection. Simple photo of the church, the house that Father Herb eventually built for himself, and then basically an office that people could come to. The blue banner over there hung in the Bariadi church for years. He had three things he always said: to build up a church, we need to do three things. We first need to build up the people. And he was very insistent that the people, to be good Christians, to be Catholics, every home needed a Bible and the catechism, and that was a starting point, and come together every night and read the Bible together with your children. The second thing on the list was you need to build a physical church. So it's the cement, the blocks, the Father Herb, when I lived with him for 3 months, he was up every night, late into the night, reading about trees and church history and thinking ahead and planning how can we help this church grow, because where is this community going to go? And Father Herb knew that this small little town, size of Parker's Prairie, was going to grow. He had a vision. We've seen pictures of the church. Every Sunday when I would go to church there when I lived with him, it was packed. They would do 2 masses on a Sunday, and they were packed. And then Father Herb would get on his motorcycle, and he'd go out in the afternoon to have other masses in the outstations. And frequently, on the way home one afternoon, Father Herb was always making calls in on families. I remember very vividly one Sunday, after a long day of about 4 masses, traveling around the area, Father Herb says, we need to stop at the hospital because there's a family with a little girl that's dying. He was also very intentional. We always heard about Father Herb's trees. You don't realize the parish is up on the top part of this picture. This is what the people lovingly called the Gappa Woods. Those trees were all lovingly planted by the Christians. That's just one plot of hundreds of plots all around Bariadi that the Christians would plant. And we have to realize they didn't just go out and stick a little seed in the ground or a little seedling. Because of the type of soil in Bariadi, and Xavier can attest to this, when he was a student, the priest who was at Mass today with us, his job when he was in high school, he was hired by Father Herb to go around and make sure before they planted the trees, they were planted properly. You had to dig a hole, and every visitor who came to Bariadi had to plant a tree. So Betty and Joe planted a tree, I planted a couple of trees, but you had to dig a hole big enough, and the test to make sure you dug the hole properly to plant the tree, it had to be up to your waist, and you had to be able to just touch the sides of the hole. So you had to dig this deep hole, put in manure, work up the soil so that when the tree was planted, it would have the ability to grow roots over the next couple of years. So you have to realize, think of that forest, how many huge holes they dug. We've all heard Father Herb talk about this word. Come on, we're learning Swahili again today. Sio rahisi, meaning it's not easy. He always reminded all the Christians it's not easy work, and he reminded all of us. You can go on to Google Maps, you can kind of see, but basically the church of Bariadi of St. John's, the first church he built, was just kind of on the edge of town. Realize in 2012, what year did you visit, Joe and Betty? 2013, the Tanzanian census said that the population was about 150,000. I looked up on Google as well. They're saying that that's about the population of the whole St. Cloud area right now. They're saying in 2022, the population, according to the Tanzanian census, is 260,000 people. So we're not talking a little village of Parkish Prairie anymore, but Father Herb was thinking ahead. One of Father Herb's other famous words, come on, Noel, shout it out. Yep. He was always thinking and planning ahead. Again, I encourage you to go on Google Maps and look, but Bariadi has absolutely grown. It's a city, it's a metropolis. And yet, started with Father Herb and his motorcycle, and it's just an amazing community now, and there are Christian churches. Father Herb was always thinking and planning ahead. You can go in any direction. I forget the amount of kilometers, but half a mile in each direction. He was always giving plots of land so a church could start in that mud brick house, grow, expand. I asked the current catechist, Barnabas, who's actually online with us, watching live, and there's others from Tanzania, so hello Barnabas and everybody in Tanzania watching right now. I asked him for numbers. So there's the two main churches of St. John's and St. Luke's. There's two larger chapels, Matthew and Mark. There are numerous other chapels. There are 10 outstations. And there are 96 small Christian communities that gather every week in Bariadi that have 50 to 100 families easily in each of those small Christian communities. That's the church that Father Herb helped grow. They gathered at a mass at the parish. The bishop came, sisters came, and about, looks like 20 priests came from the diocese to be there to celebrate the memorial mass for Father Herb. We've talked about the trees. We've all heard Father Herb say the same, but this is what he preached in his weekly homilies. How many trees did you cut down and how many trees did you plant? That's what St. Peter's going to ask you when you get to the pearly gates. So keep that in mind. And so in honor of Father Herb, they actually had the bishops and all the priests help plant some trees when they were there for his memorial mass. Like I said, you don't go to Bariadi and not plant a tree. And I'll just kind of close my section. Like I said, there's going to be a lot of really great stories, I know, in the after program. But Father Herb also taught us all, I think, Asante Sana. So thank you. First and foremost, we've heard it from Betty and Joe and from Rick. Thank you to the family here. I remember the masses at my uncle's home, my aunt's homes. I mean, there was always masses at the lake. I hope people know Father Herb was we call him a diehard Vikings fan. He was a diehard Minnesotan, Urbanki, Parkes Prairie. He got the Parkes Prairie paper in Tanzania his whole time he was there. Many Christmas presents or gifts were wrapped in Parkes Prairie papers. So he was very, very proud to always stay connected to this community. He had his Maryknoll family. I know some of the Maryknoll sisters are on watching right now as well. Father Herb lived with the catechist family, the Maryknoll sisters, when they lived in Bariadi. My understanding, what I was told, they had their own little house, but they lived like the Tanzanians. They went out and collected water and carried it back to their home to live. They lived very, very simply. But his Maryknoll family was very important to him. A lifelong friend, Father Paul Fagan, who was also on watching with us. Father Paul's the reason he went to Bariadi. He said, Father Paul was telling some of us family members, he kept on Herb's case for 2 years, convincing him to come to Bariadi and help him start to grow this parish. And so, thank you, Father Paul. This is a picture of Leonard's extended family. He's stayed very close. There are many pictures on the picture boards of Father Herb with the Boniface family coming to visit here in Minnesota in Lake Ida. Barnabas, who's online watching with us now, is the current catechist there. His family was very, very close to Father Herb as well. And all I'm trying to say is, Asante Sana, thank you to the extended family of Father Herb, all of you in this room as well, and his family in Bariadi. We're very, very special and very important to him. And for Father Herb, church was family. Every Sunday was a celebration. That church in Bariadi, I don't even know how to describe it, but it was a dancing, singing, vibrant church. And Father Herb tried to bring that back to us here in Minnesota as well. But that was his family. And with that, I'm going to invite Father Xavier. So Father Xavier and his brother Pascal were the first Catholic priest from the parish in Bariadi. And Father Xavier has a poem that he's going to share. So, Karibu, Father Xavier. And as Father Xavier comes up, I'll just share one other thing, because folks in Bariadi, Rosemary's online watching in Bariadi as well. The community in Bariadi made shirts, t-shirts, with Father Herb's picture, and there are hundreds of people wearing t-shirts of Father Herb in Bariadi right now.
Welcome everyone. I will not speak much because everything has spoken. It is an honor today to stand here to speak in behalf of many people, seminarians, priests who were supported by Gappa and his friends from here, Minnesota. So we stand here today just saying Asante Sana for his life that he did in Tanzania, and especially in Bariadi for us and for the church and for the Merino Father. So thank you very much for your support which you did for us. It's an honor today that Father Herb, he had the theology not on the dogma that we know. He had the living theology. He had the three pillars that made him how he can learn the parish. They are written in Swahili, but if you Google and you want to have the translation, it will give you just the light of the translation of the words, like the bridge of people, bridge of the cement, and the need of the people. But that does not mean what he meant. Father Herb meant the theology, but salvation for the people that they're preaching. Then the development of the church, construction of the church, and where we can celebrate the Eucharist, the tabernacle, must be presented in the church, and then the need of the people. Martin and others have spoken a lot. He saw the need of the people in three ways. First, education system. As we have heard that, we spoke Kisukuma language. I spoke Kisukuma language, the native language, Kisukuma at home. I go to the school, I speak English, Swahili first, then English. You can't see. You speak other language, you go, you speak another language. So it was a problem somehow for him to make a real conversation with people and to get them. Because they are mixed of the languages. How would they get him? So he came with the idea. He began supporting, finding funds to support people for education, better education. But he found that there are need of more people who can start and learn English language, which will be easier for them to make integration with other peoples, not on Skuma people. That's how can he do that? We are donors, he was finding like scholarship and whatever, but he came with the idea. Why can't I construct a school? I remember in my vacation, we just sat on the small piece of wood. In my language, you call gogo. He told me, wait a moment. He smoked first. After, he told me, will you not mind if I smoke? I say, sour part. That's the way he likes sour. So he smoked. And that was very little. Then he shared to me this. I want to construct a school here. And what the idea of that? I will be taking all the 10 best students in every primary school so that will start here. I said, Father, this is a wonderful idea. But the price for me was, well, how is going to have this school? But I was thinking again, how did he imagine to think this one? It came to my mind when we were in the church, I was an altar boy, when he told me, I will call you on the middle of the mass. So you watch me. And I did not say, don't have chicken mind, masalagango. Chicken mind, don't have chicken mind. So I kept there, waiting when he's going to show. He just used sign, you'll not call. Just look at me. So I was there, and not to be with chicken mind. So he did like this. So they saw people I was working there. So he told me, hold this t-shirt, Sio Rahis. That day he demonstrated about Sio Rahis, how to do the mission. How can we move from one step to another step? So that's why from where he had the ambition of constructing school, of planting tree, he chose me. After my elementary school, he came to ask my parents, may you allow Savior to come to the parish? I had something with me. Then I was wondering, what's so special I have done for him? So he told me, the work you are going to do, first, you will go to the kitchen, you have the checklist of the chicken, what I'm going to eat that the cook will give you. So you'll go to buy the stuff in the town. Then from there, you'll go around to see the workers, if they are doing. Then at night, you have to stay at the radio call to listen the calls, then to record. Then after that, you will go where people are planting tree. Make sure they are really planting as I have said. So you will just light the cycle. After a while, you will see him coming with a motorcycle. Try to see that, are you doing it properly, what he has instructed? Chicken minds. I didn't want to be a chicken mind since then. I want to prove that I'm not a chicken mind. So I studied hard. And all the time you ask, do you want to be a priest, or you just want to have best education, then you have to learn your way? I said, no, I want to be a priest. Will you want to be what kind of priest? A diocesan priest? I told no, a missionary priest. So that is my story. So a lot of him can speak, but he was a gifted priest. He was, if I were a Jew, ancient Jew, on that time, I would have said, Father Herbert is a prophet. For what he said, today it is in Prairie. He said, this town will grow. It is now a grown town. We have to plant trees. Today, this year, the whole nation of Tanzania is going to promote planting tree for the whole country. So an idea of Father Herbert is going to be an idea of the nation. So you can see, I'm saying, if he was a prophet, today to be a prophet. Meanwhile, allow me to recite my poem. The poem is called The Sun is Set. Ahead of us, you are gone, but divine call never stopped. Ahead of us, you are gone, but the divine essential tree. Ahead of us, you are gone, for actual the given life. The sun is set, the weather crashes with crowded faces. Defend of faith, fight of life, justice maker, peace builder. You nurtured the earth, rich was your ambition, creating beauty. Love founder, establishing the way of truth and trust for the wondrous souls. The sun is set, dark eyes shake the tears. the prophets you made for the prophet church to glorify thee, the announcement you declared generation to remember, educating nativos. Heaven you preached to spread goodness, accepting light for the better tomorrow. The sun is set and the weather is broken by sudden hearts. No matter how far you have gone, your footprint remembering for the no end. No matter how far you have left, your words spoken embraced for the treasure. The missionary spirit you live, the true mic of Melno brethren. The sun is set, the voice is raised, shouting for the hallelujah. It is in pursuit. Raised in the Obank, the gifted for Africa, to share sacrifice for the believers. Family blessing, you are graced, you are summoned, provide the need. The triumph of your nations you are, the dedication of charitable givers. The sun is set, and the assembly declares ancestors to accept in their hands. Tangulia Padre Gappa, vita vizuri umevipiga, mwendo umeumaliza, imani bora uliilinda, na taji ulistahilishwa, kwa mengi mazuri uliyatenda, si rahisi ulitusia. Kutenda bila kuwajibikiza, kanisa uliliimarisha kwa kujitoa. Tangulia hautasaurika, usukumani na unyantazuni, mtemi wetu hakika. Drums are played to facilitate the soul state of the lion, and lions are sleeping. The ground is wet by weeping souls, to certify the loyal life you are suffered to save the poor. The ministry you offered to certify the sacred message of salvation for the resurrection of the lived. The sun is set, for Herbert ahead of us, you have gone for eternal living life.
I think we've got Connie coming up with another song, and then we have a blessing.
Well, I have a little story. This has just been one of the most beautiful services I've been to on such a wonderful life that brought so much light into the world, not just our world, but took it out and beyond. And I think that was kind of the kindred spirit. I left Nashville for 13 too, so I suppose we kind of had that in common of leaving, your area. But I had two little quick stories. Well, the first one was when Father Herb came back, he came up to me and said that he was going to do the Easter Sunday Mass here in Parker's Prairie, St. Williams, and it was so crazy. He said, I need them to get more uplifted, and we need to liven them up a little bit and do some singing. He said, so I'm going to have you be out in the parish, in the congregation on Easter Sunday morning. I'm going to come out and I'm going to say, isn't it a beautiful morning? And I want you to stand up and just start singing, oh, what a beautiful morning, and just start singing. And I said, I'm going to scare these people half to death. And sure enough, I did it that morning. I sat almost about 4 or 5 seats, 5 pews back, and he started, and I scared those poor guys half to death. But that was just the fun spirit that he had of getting everybody involved and knowing, God. And I feel very honored about this, and I shared it with his family because this happened to me. I was able to speak with him. I'd call him when he did get to New York, but before that, he'd always call and check on me to see, how I was doing. Especially like when I lost my parents and stuff like that, or big times in my life that he knew that were pretty hard. He'd always call to see how I was doing. Well, this was right before, one night I woke up about 5 in the morning, and I had this dream, beautiful dream. we were all of you all were there too. We were all on a big tarmac where there was beautiful weather. It was just a beautiful sunny day. The plane was there. Father said he was leaving. He was ready to go. He had his gray vestment on, just to give you a picture of how he looked. Had that smile that he has, with a tan, of course. And he had a straw Panama hat on. And he gave me a hug and was giving us all a hug. And he says, I'm ready to go. He says, I'm going to go have fun. He said, and I said, just like they said, during our mass earlier, and the homily said, we don't want you to go. You've got to stay with us a little longer. We need help here. We can't. No, I got to go. And I actually felt that hug, and he says, no, I'm ready. I'm ready to go. And I turn around, and all of a sudden, everybody's taking him, and he's just on a wheelbarrow again, They had him sitting there, feet up in the air, and they were all singing, and they were taking him, and then he was going to where he wanted to go. So it was such a special dream. So I woke up, and I called Betty, and I said, hey, is he okay? And she said, funny, you should ask that, because she said they took him in, to the hospital that night. And so I know that, he came to say goodbye, which was special, because I couldn't get to speak with him, and I didn't get to travel to New York, but it was just a really, really blessing of a dream that I had, and I just thought, and that was just how he was, and we all know that because we all knew him and had him in our life. And like I said, knowing him, if we can pass that light on to others, and I have a very strong mission myself for that, to be like a light like he was to other people, because that's what it's all about, really. All that other stuff is just fluff. It doesn't really matter, what kind of car you drive or what you got, what kind of whatever you got. Mainly is had you shared that light and shared God with people, and that's what he did. So we all got to share that light. So I feel like I said, thank you for family for having me perform here at this wonderful celebration of life of fatherhood. I have it's a little medley, so it's not real long, and everybody, I won't be singing for a long time, but we have just a couple songs to finish it up. Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now I am found. 'Twas blind, but now I see. 'Twas grace that taught my heart to beat, and grace my fears relieved. How precious and grace appeared the hour I first believed. Now he wants us all to sing this one. Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. Oh, I once was lost, but now I'm found. 'Twas blind, but now I see. 'Twas blind, but now I see. Okay, so now we're going to send Father Herb off with a big send-off, okay? Now, it's a song that you all know, because it's an old country gospel thing that we have in church, but it's I'll Fly Away, because that's just where he's going. He's got no more worries here. He's going on. Dance here, come on.
will invite you to come up and say a final blessing. As we wait for Father Voss to come up, we all know, or many of us heard this story many times as we were waiting around for Father Herb or something to happen. Father Herb would always say, well, Paris Hilton or Whitney Houston's going to show up any moment now, right? Bill, thank you again for being with us today, for the homily, and for celebrating this celebration of life for Father Herb.
It's been my pleasure. Wonderful. I think I mentioned that in my homily that Herb and I were neighbors, actually, in Tanzania for many, many years. But when we say neighbors, he was in another mission where I was from mine, and so the neighbor was 2 hours away. But we regularly got together for one reason or another. So it really was a pleasure for me to be at the source of so much of Herb's life, starting at Burbank and now here in Parker's Prairie. So I would be happy to kind of close us with a prayer. So gracious God, we are mindful that you are present always and everywhere. But we believe that you are truly present here among us this very day as we hold up the memory of our brother Herb, commending him to your loving embrace, even as we continue to celebrate the gifts he shared with each and every one of us, that he may enjoy the rewards of his life of service, of you, and in particular the good people of Tanzania. And as we depart and go our separate ways, we ask that you bless each of us on our journey, our safari, return wherever we wish to live and serve you. We ask this grace and blessing in the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen.
Well, on behalf of the Gappa family, I want to thank you all for being here today. Whoop.
Joe, I should have at least one Herb story. Very brief. You know, we all learned a lot from one another in mission. For example, when you wake up in the morning, you always lift up your boot and shake it out. The reason was, Herb learned the hard way. He put his foot in the boot one morning and he encountered a scorpion.
Thank you, Brother Voss. Well, thank you all for being here. Thank you for honoring Father Herb's memory. Continue to share stories, continue to be together as family and friends in his memory. This concludes our celebration of life service. Certainly stick around. The bar will still be open as Father Herb would want as we move forward today. Thank you.
So again, we encourage people to just take a break, get something to drink. We might show a very short video in a little bit here as well, a 10-minute video. But thank you everyone for coming today.
That was me.
was sober cap that night, though.
Yeah, that's what I found out later. They all know I'm sober, like, oh man, he's going to tell us that all about it now.
He went to the cities this weekend. He went to the Wild last night for college. I think his sober January was over.
Oh, yeah.
I think he probably ate that up now.
I was sober for a little bit, then I had my work party, and then I was like, okay, now I better get sober again a little bit. How have you been, though? You been good?
Yeah. Nice winter.
Yeah. How much do you have left now?
Oh, he's all done.
He's all done now? Okay.
Graduated in May.
Okay.
Working in Elk Lake.
Oh, okay.